to the Sasquatch and Squirrel Show. Today, we're going to discuss whether true or false if COVID-19 was a bioweapon. Now, I'm of the conclusion or of the mindset, whatever how you want to say it, that I think it was.
I agree.
I think it was in the development stage, and then it got accidentally released too early. That's what I think.
It's possible. I mean, we'll never know the true story about it. I mean, it's about as hush-hush as the damn JFK assassination, because it's like, we know where it came from. There's all types of evidence leading to the whole quote-unquote China virus.
Right.
And, every time that we get somewhere close to it, either the media shuts it down, YouTube puts a damn time or like some kind of Wikipedia stamp, like Wikipedia is a fucking reliable source of information.
Right.
And it's like there's always something like trying to make some kind of disinformation about it.
Yeah, and it's all, I mean, and that's the problem is everyone's going to, weigh their opinions on this, and it's fine as it should be a long form discussion amongst people.
I agree.
As long as it's a civil discourse, you know what I mean?
Right.
So I didn't really have anybody that was physically affected with COVID in my life. I mean, I got it after I got the vaccine, of course, but
Right.
I had it, and then, but me working in the medical field, by the time that I was furloughed when it first hit, because I was at a surgery center and they shut those down almost immediately.
Right.
So I was furloughed for the first, few months of 2020. And then I think I wound up going back to work in May, and we had a couple of patients that had it back then, but not anybody that, I mean, like that was, so you just mask up and do your job,
Right. And like for me, when I first knew that it got bad, I had a guy who was one of my people that takes care of my lawn,
Mm-hmm.
and I was calling to see if he was available to cut my grass, and I got a hold of their child or somebody, and it says, "I'm sorry, the person has passed away."
Oh.
I was like, "Oh my God, I am so sorry. What happened?" They said he died of COVID-19. I
Mm-hmm.
was like, "Oh my God." And he was a great dude. I really enjoyed talking to him. We used to pick on one another, and just just ultimately a good dude. I know that he was always trying to lowball the jobs and stuff like that, but I'd always give him a little extra because I knew he was a hard worker.
Right.
And it's just when you lose somebody like that right there, that means a lot to you. You try to take care of people. It just it sucks. Now, another person that we lost was a friend of the family, and I don't want to give out too much information about the family, but uh, he was in the hospital and he had the respirator on, and they say that's what did him and was having an excess of oxygen
Mm-hmm.
and couldn't have a way to expel some of the oxygen that he was getting. I was like, oh, okay. So
Yeah.
yeah, unfortunately, he passed away.
Yeah, that was one of the, I think, now me not being a pulmonologist, which is, the person that is a doctor of the respiratory system
Right.
or a respiratory therapist or anything like that. I mean, from what I could gather is this disease or virus did not need to, it was one of those that you needed your body to fight. And then when you let somebody do mechanical breathing for them, it made it to where the body didn't fight as hard and the virus took over.
Right.
Me not knowing that aspect of medicine, I don't really, that's just my, layman's way of thinking with it.
Gotcha. I know you said that you didn't really have much problems with it, but that shit about killed me too.
Yeah, I remember that.
The worst part of it was the pneumonia part.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I've never been that sick in my life. I mean, the first week, dude, I was like, "Is this all this shit is?"
Mm-hmm.
And it knocked my cock in my watch pocket, dude. It was bad.
You're what?
Knocked the old cock in the watch pocket.
All right, well, moving on. Anyway.
But yeah, it's the weirdest shit like that. It's weird that the virus affected people in different ways. I mean, some
Mm-hmm.
people either would it be asymptomatic, meaning not having any problems with it, or Some people would barely have a problem with it. It'd just be like a bad cold for them or just a scratchy throat or whatever the fuck.
Mhm.
Others, it put in the fucking grave or almost put in the grave. And me, one of the worst parts about COVID was when, well, other than the breathing part and not being able to, I'm over here breathing in, but not enough oxygen was going anywhere. So
Mhm.
that was pretty damn rough. But the other part was the fact that I lost my sense of smell,
Mhm.
and I lost it for about 2 years. And like me, I hate cigarette smoke. I've never been a smoker at all, so it's like just as your body is starting to like rebuild itself, like the worst part for me was smelling like cigarette smoke and stuff like that. Like it smelled exactly like it. And it smelled
Mhm.
like it was weird because it went in different stages. At first, it smelled like hickory smoke, which
Mhm.
is weird. And I was like, everything smelled like it. I was like, is something on fire? Something burning? My wife was like, I can't tell. I can't smell right now because like she's lost her smell a long time ago for whatever reason.
Right.
But then it went to like cigarette smoke, and then it stayed there for a while, and I was like, "This is a fucking hell for me."
So you're saying that your olfactory sense, which is your sense of smell, that's that was recalling cigarette smoke
Pretty much.
because you weren't around somebody that was smoking, obviously, right? I mean,
Was never around anyone smoking while I was here, and I didn't want to get anyone around anyone.
that's so fucking weird.
And like for example, like if I was cooking
Yeah.
or if I wanted to cook, I couldn't smell if like the meat was soured or anything like that.
Oh
Um,
yeah, that's something.
yeah, so my like I had to work up in Nashville for a while, and my
Mhm.
dad was like, "Son, what the hell are you cooking? That stuff smells bad." I was like, "What is it? I mean, I can't tell. You know, my smell is gone."
Right.
And he was like, "Yeah, throw that shit out." And like, I'm not a bad cook, you know this,
Right.
but it's like whatever the hell was going on with me, I just could not. And I'm telling you, that right there, having no sense of smell, that's paralyzing for me.
Yeah, I can imagine. Because I mean, you people don't realize how much you rely on your 5 senses, you know?
Hmm. If it's one that you could do without, I mean, it's probably the least of them because being blind or can't hear or something like that,
Yeah.
dude, those right there would just ruin me. But I mean, we would figure out how to work around it. But man, it's just like,
To not to be a little weenie about it, but also being able to taste your food and smell nice things and all that kind of stuff. You take that shit for granted. It's like when you get a cold, and it blocks you're like, I will never, take tasting good food for granted again.
oh yeah. Now I lost my taste a little bit at the very beginning, but I had no problems really with the taste as much. Um, I knew that's the other thing about the virus. Like I could barely eat. Like I had some soup, and it was like I can't even eat that brand of soup. Like just that, I could eat the brand, but I can't eat the style of soup that was
The
just like
flavor,
beef and potato or something like that.
right?
I just and I love those things, right? But I just can't eat that particular soup anymore because it just brings me back to that time, and I'm just like,
Yeah,
I don't want to eat this ever again because that was the only thing that I could hold down.
yeah. I never like so mine was when I got it. I got it like a year and a half after I got that stupid vaccine, and mine was in my tonsils. Like, I had a hard time, like, swallowing, and I had to sleep upright for, like, 2 weeks.
Yeah, I had to do the whole upright sleep thing.
Yeah, but, I mean, was this thing bioengineered as a weapon? I mean, I think that if
There's proof that
there's
of
plenty of
that.
there's definitely mounting proof, as because there's still,
Hmm.
like we just watched some stuff from, June of this year. Rand Paul was on the Senate or Congress, whichever one it was.
Hmm. He's a senator.
Yeah, the evidence is mounting that this thing was bioengineered. Now, was it bioengineered as to what it to harm or well, I mean, most viruses are there to harm. So if and then I think you were alluding before we started recording that the evidence states that it's like American scientists looked at this and says, why would you engineer this? This is dangerous.
Right, right.
So
Yeah, like from the videos, and like we'll include all the research in the description below.
Right.
But watch some of the videos that we put together, and you tell me what you think.
Yeah.
Because you just look at the mounting evidence, as you said, mounting against it. It's just like, it was it a bioweapon or was it an agent of a bioweapon? It doesn't matter. It still got the fuck out and it killed a lot of people.
A
Now,
lot.
did
Yeah.
it kill the numbers of people that they said it did? I don't think so.
Right.
And there's been a lot of people telling me that, this is people that I know up in other places, that they said they're part of the medical facility and such. They said that they were forced to put down COVID-19 as the cause of death, when honestly it was more of heart failure.
Right. And oh yeah, there was a huge rash of that shit. I remember that. They were like, "Oh, this like somebody committed suicide, COVID-19." And it's like,
Yeah,
stop. It was almost like pick me shit. You know what I mean? Like, "Oh, we have more COVID deaths than you guys do. We're number 1." And they're number 1 at sucking. I mean,
I think honestly what it was a way for doctors to actually get paid, because normally medical is expensive, and they knew they would get immediate money from the government when it's harder to get money from the customer
right.
or the client. And I honestly think that's why they did it.
Of course. No, you're not wrong. I mean, when any of this kind of stuff happens, just, follow the money, you know?
Right. And speaking of money, you can't say money without saying, like Dr. Fuck You Fauci.
Yeah, that
That
guy.
little gnome fucker right there. Dude, I
He
tell you, I have such a sore dick with that dude.
I
It's
don't
like, if
know
you
why
think
you
about this shit,
word it
huh?
that
What?
way. Anyway, never mind. I don't know
I'm
why you'd
telling you, dude, it's terrible.
word it that fucking way, but okay, whatever. I think you might want to get a cream
Nah.
for that. But anyways, but
I'll go see
no,
Dr. Fauci about that.
yeah, don't do that because he'll just say gain of function and then charge you $10,000.
Actually, he's the one that keeps denying gain of function. He's like, there's no evidence of blah, 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 blah.
Yeah,
No, dude, there's every fucking bit of evidence. And he was actually one of these jackasses that, told people, that there's an issue here, like shit got out, and he was covering it up. And then he and his organization would go after anybody that fucking came out against it because there's proof otherwise. So
right.
everybody had to go towards the narrative. So it's like you got this elite group of people. I say elite loosely because it's just people that are in the fucking, if you want to call it shadow government, fine, do that. But it's
Right.
just a group of people together that are all conspiring against the main narrative. So it's
Yeah.
like you got the truth, which is the main narrative, and these people are conspiring against it just to get whatever the fuck they're wanting to get out of it, either at financial gain or this fucking, you can call it New World Order.
Yeah, it's either financial gain, control of people, or control of resources, or whatever it is. But I know that if this thing is, which like we said a minute ago, there's mounting evidence that this thing is a bioweapon. I think it was sent here to at least weaken our government, if not try to cripple it. Now, this is all, this is tinfoil shit for me. I mean, tinfoil hat shit.
That's
So
fine.
this is just me talking that this could possibly be what this is. So I think that this, if it is a weapon, I want to say that it was sent here to try to destabilize our government and to weaken the American people.
Right. And at that time, and I'll tell you too, tinfoil hat here for me. I honestly think it was something to keep Donald Trump from doing any more good for our country, like trying to pass any more policies or anything like that, because
Yeah.
they were just trying to destabilize that and slow him down, because they were, he was fucking up their good time.
Right. Yeah. He was just trying to see, and yeah, no, that makes sense. This thing was like multifaceted. It was.
Yeah, death by a thousand cuts.
Yeah, exactly. So it was them to possibly steal an election, for them to keep us under control, for us, because usually, we know how the U.S. government generally works. There's if they're doing one thing, the real thing is behind that somewhere else.
Yeah, well, it's always been called death by a thousand cuts,
Yeah.
and I honestly think they use that right there to force people not to go out and vote, and
Mhm.
they've proven that a lot of people, that's why they did the whole mail-in ballot things, because mail-in ballots are easier to control, easy to manipulate, so you can just ballot dump all you want. And
Mhm.
there's a lot of evidence against that, and that's going off on a different tangent, which we could cover on a different episode.
Right.
But there's a lot of proof of a lot of things that was going on around that time, and it ain't like this thing's gone away either. I mean,
No, well,
this
there's
virus is still floating around, and people are still getting it here and there.
yeah, well, there's people that suffer from long-term COVID now, and it's
Oh
like,
yeah, and I
what is
did. I mean, fucking
yeah.
2 years is pretty long. I'll tell you another part of long COVID is the mental clarity thing. I mean, you're always feeling like your head's in a cloud or something like that. You're like, oh shit, you'll be fine one moment, then the next moment you're kind of just spaced out. It's like, and it's not like you're like zoning. I mean, I guess it's just more like you're zoning out, but it's like you
Mhm.
can't help it.
Right. Brain fog is what they call it, I think.
Yeah.
But, I had it the one time and it never was like, it was sucked when I had it, but but I'm a fairly, I wouldn't say I'm a health nut by any stretch of the imagination, but I try to eat a clean diet. I, I exercise minimum 4 days a week. So I'm trying to, and that's just because I got, bad cardiovascular health in my family.
Right.
So I don't get sick very often, but when I do, it's usually a humdinger. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what got me was the fact that it just floored me. And I'm a big dude. You know what I mean? And it's not like, but just sitting there like not being able to breathe. And then if I did take a deep breath, I was like trying to hork everything I just ate up because I was gagging so much because it was like my tonsils were touching.
Right.
I had lost my sense of smell and taste. And I'm like, shit. So I go to the cabinet and I get a COVID test and I take it. And sure enough, it's positive. I'm like, fuck it.
Yeah. You brought up the COVID test.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest kick in the dick for me on those right there, if you read on the back, it says "Made in China." I'm like, really?
Mm-hmm.
Go
Yeah.
fuck yourself.
Yeah. Go fuck yourself. It's like, oh, I see what you guys did. You released it to sell testing kits.
That's it.
But, and
That
then,
was it. That's the
yeah,
whole
that's
conspiracy.
the whole conspiracy right there. Chinese testing kits, probably made by children for 4 cents a day. But,
Probably.
well, and then you had then like as recently as last year, didn't they have like an illegal Chinese lab in Fresno, California?
They did. They
And they,
did. And
but
like
they,
the weird thing was, it's like they busted the thing, they found it. And
mhm,
like the weird way that they found it was like there was a garden hose or something out there that was like left in the wrong place
mm,
or something like that. I
yeah,
guess that's a fucking no in California. I don't know.
no,
California's backastards.
well, it is, but I also know that I think that it's I think it was for that particular building. The commission, ever who that was, found it, and they're like, "That's weird." So they go knock on the door, and some little Chinese lady in PPE, protective personal equipment,
Yeah.
is like, just looking at them, and then they had like 900 mice in there with different strands of HIV, herpes 1 through 5, which I didn't even know there was fucking 5 of them.
Yeah, and also like full of COVID, and they were trying to work on different strains of all that shit. Like,
Right.
why are Chinese nationals on our fucking soil
Mm-hmm.
doing shit like that?
Yeah.
And like, and they said this factory or
Lab.
facility or whatever the fuck it
Mm-hmm.
was in like piss poor standards. It was like
Well,
basically a rundown building, and they were in there doing their shit.
it's an illegal lab, so it's not going to be up to standard. You know what I mean? So, and of course they try to figure out who owns this thing, and it's just a shell company with a Chinese address. This is where I have a problem with now. I don't if individuals want to come here and buy land, fine. I don't care about that.
Right.
What I care about is when you have like government agencies that want to buy land. Got a problem with that, which is why I kind of dig living in Florida because DeSantis just passed not just he did it last year that if you're part of like Russia, China, basically every country that fucking hates us,
All of them.
yeah, you can't buy land here.
And they shouldn't be able to, because
No, they
if
shouldn't be
we
able to.
try to go buy land in their home, they'd be like, "The fuck is this?" No.
Maybe not. Maybe I know that like in Japan that you can buy a house and land in Japan for sure.
Well, they
But
don't really hate us. They're still
yeah,
kind of an ally.
Right. This whole thing is just them trying to weaken us, and it worked because there's still people walking around with masks on, which is Joe Rogan said it best. You see people walking around with masks, and that's just the liberals' version of a MAGA hat.
I know, dude. And like every time that I go out and I'm at a store or something, I see some person with a mask on. I'm like, I bet they vote Democrat. I mean, nothing wrong with that. I mean, I'm just glad they
No.
kind of warned me of that shit first,
Yeah,
before I try to engage in conversation with somebody.
but it's also, I mean, and listen, I'm not a super political person. I have I'm dead set, dead center, middle of the road.
Right. I think both parties are equally stupid.
Yeah, I do too. I'll say it one time. My political leanings are this: I'm not. I think abortion should be available.
Yep.
I'm not fucking paying for it.
Nope.
Um, keep your hands off my guns and keep your hands out of my pockets.
There you go.
That's it.
And you know what? Common sense. I
Yeah,
want common sense.
yeah,
All these political talking points, and I'm gonna go off on a little rant here. All these political talking points, I don't give a fuck about. Just quit fucking us over.
yeah,
Quit trying to make yourself richer and putting me poor. I'm getting tired of that bullshit.
yeah.
The main thing is, if these people are going to be the ones showing me the most common sense, that's who I'm voting for. The people
hmm
that are trying to be like selling us off to the highest bidder and making me poorer and poorer so they could get richer and richer, they could go fuck themselves. And, I don't care.
Yeah. Back to the topic. I think it was supposed to be a bioweapon, but I think it got released a little early, and it may not, and it may have gotten released so early that it wasn't effective, or as effective as they were hoping it was. But then again, that's directly pulled out of my own head. I don't know for sure, but
Right.
I used to be close to people that saw this thing firsthand, and and it's devastating.
Absolutely is.
The political bullshit aside, doesn't matter. Is what matters is that people lost their lives, and it was probably done so needlessly.
And on top of that, all the freedoms that we lost during and after the fact,
hmm
and some of them will never get back. That's the
Yeah,
part that I hated.
I mean, like I haven't, like when I was furloughed, I was able to go to the grocery store and do that kind of stuff. So, but not that I needed to because I had stuff, in my deep freezer and all that. No one like stopped me from going anywhere or anything. But I didn't go out much because, like I said, I had enough stuff in my house.
Right.
I used to be close with someone who worked in the ICU, and it was to see the effects of this thing on this person daily. Was like it takes a toll because you're seeing death and sickness and then like people would I guess some nurses back then posted a video. I don't agree with it, don't get me wrong. They posted a TikTok of them dancing or something like that.
Right.
You definitely have to blow off steam, but I think that wasn't the appropriate way to do it. I don't know. I mean, I think it was a designed weapon or a designed virus to try to inflict damage on either us or another one of China's, enemies.
Yeah, like themselves.
Yeah, I know. Because didn't it? Somebody brought up the point that it was like for them to get rid of their elderly people.
Yeah, very possible.
Because because Mother China has a warm and loving embrace for its people.
Hmm.
Yeah, we all know
Yeah,
that.
China's definitely a weird place, man.
Yeah, yeah.
It's got some beautiful landscape, I'll give it that, but the peoplescape not so much.
Well, and it's like I can't. I never would blame a person. I would always blame their government for their situation because
Well, that's what I
yeah,
meant.
because the people just they're just like you and I. We have the illusion of freedom here,
Yes.
and they don't even have that over there,
Right.
because it's a communist thing, and the one thing about communism working is it doesn't.
True.
At that point, it's about who has power and who doesn't, and that's a different episode. But I mean, how do you feel? Do you think? I mean, I think we're on the same wavelength of it being. We think it was a weapon, but do you think it was released too early? Do you think it was meant for us? Do you think it? Whatever.
I kind of think it leaked out of the lab by accident.
hmm
I think somebody wasn't going through the proper channels that they should have been at the lab where it released from.
Right.
And I honestly think that's what started the whole thing. And then we just used it to our advantage to get what we wanted out of it. And I say
hmm
we as in the governments of the world.
Yeah, it's true. That could have been their one. Let's get that hard reset going, and it,
And after that is when you notice this fucking World Economic Forum started doing all their bullshit with the whole build back broke bullshit.
right, exactly, or build back better. Yeah, it comes a point where you start spinning your tires because we all know there's some tomfuckery behind all this,
Oh yeah.
and hopefully it'll come out. And then you got the vaccine shit, people getting injuries from the vaccine because it wasn't tested. I took it because of my job and a couple other reasons, like I have an elderly mother, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, but other than that, now in retrospect, I wish I hadn't taken it, but I did because I thought it was the right thing to do. I did my research on it as best with what was, limitedly available.
Right. Me, I don't know, man. Like, I didn't take the clot shot.
Hmm.
I just honestly did not feel that it was going to serve me any better because, like, I start looking at shit. And I was like, when you start putting everything together, and this is just the way my mind worked. When the government tells you, "Oh, you need this. This is what you need." Well, you need this version now, and you need this version, and now you need this version. I mean,
Right.
how many
30
fucking versions of this damn shot do you need before it kills you?
fucking
I mean,
37. Yeah. 37 boosters. I did the initial shots. I haven't done a booster. I'm not going to because I just don't like taking medication like that.
here's the lie that we were all told.
Hmm.
We were told to take the fucking vaccine so
Hmm.
other people wouldn't get the shit.
Yeah.
So people that were vaccinated were worried about getting it because the fucking people who didn't get it. And I'm like, wait a minute. You took the vaccine. So how is it
Mm.
my responsibility to make you feel better in your own skin? But like you should believe in your fucking medicine you took.
Right.
If you believe in the medicine that you took, you should be fine. Quit worrying about what I'm doing or not doing. Mind your
Right.
fucking business. I'm sorry, this topic gets me heated as shit.
You don't say. I think it was designed to be more effective than it was, and it didn't work. You know.
Absolutely didn't work. And they
Yeah.
even come out against the thing saying it doesn't work. They
Yeah.
know it doesn't work, and you still got people pushing the shit.
Yeah. It's kind of ridiculous.
Makes no sense to me.
Me either.
And let's go back on to the whole Dr. Fauci thing and
Oh
all the
God.
bullshit that guy's been into.
Right.
But did you hear about, when Dr. Fauci got called out by Marjorie Taylor Greene about the tests they were doing on dogs they caught him doing?
No.
They're letting the dogs get their faces eaten off by these flesh-eating parasites, but they were cutting the dog's vocal cords and such so it couldn't whine and scream in pain. And these
Huh.
dogs are still alive.
Is that? I mean, do we know that that's a thing, or is that just
That was
something
a
that was?
real thing. That's no bullshit.
Huh.
That was
That's
actually on the news. And they showed pictures of the shit too. Now, if you
yeah.
go and try to find it now, they probably buried it bigger than shit, but they
Well.
actually had all that going on. So Dr. Fauci's hands are dirty as shit. And I even told my wife when I saw that son of a bitch come on TV, I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I guarantee you that dude right there has something to do with it. There's a reason why Trump brought this guy to the forefront.
Mm-hmm.
Why is he all of a sudden getting all this, TV time? I bet you his fingerprints are all over it. And sure enough, I was right.
I just googled. This is the Washington Examiner, so I don't know their paper, but this is something that I just googled. Apparently, it's called Beaglegate,
Okay.
and it's the cruel and wasteful experiments on dogs funded by Dr. Anthony Fauci. It says the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease are not alone. People across the political spectrum have been horrified to learn that their tax dollars are being used to subsidize animal cruelty. There you go. So
Hmm.
that is from the Washington Examiner.
There you go.
You can look them up, and like I said, I don't know that paper. I don't know if it's legitimate or if it's. But yeah, it's disgusting if that's the case, and he should be ass raped by an 8-dicked walrus.
100%.
So there you
And
go.
not giving anything to bite on to either.
Yeah, no, he gets a cactus to bite on.
There you go.
Fucking prick.
It's
So
just And like that little weasel fuck, dude, every time that I see him, he just makes my blood boil. Because
Yeah,
how do you know he's lying? His mouth is moving.
he's breathing. Yeah, goddamn it.
And all this, unfortunately, has politics written all over it. Bad politics at that.
Yeah, for
And the
sure.
people who are actually trying to come out against this stuff, as I said, doctors and such have been trying to come out against this bullshit. And they're like, look, there's scientists out there that's even said, and it's across the aisle too, both Democrat and Republican people, and people who are not even like affiliated with any kind of uh, political ownage. They
Hmm.
just don't. They're not coming out for politics. They're coming out for truth. And these people have been either killed or they have been, shut up. They've lost their licenses. They've
Hmm.
lost their degrees. They've lost their jobs or whatever it may have been. They've lost a lot of things where they can't even like work just to be shut up. And then
Right.
some of these people who are actually coming out now, they're like, yes, this is what happened. This is the spike protein was put in this right place to where it would be 100%, contagious and more contagious. And I mean, you think about this stuff. There was actually, there's a story. I don't know if it was a CIA or it was a military experiment. They actually had these uh, people going around in the subways. They were trying to do a test to see how far a disease will travel, and they
Hmm.
actually released this agent of some sort that they can actually track
Hmm.
in the subways of New York. And they had these like the suitcases that they were just blowing this whatever the nasty that they were throwing out there, and it would just get on people, and they would track how far it would go. And so there's actually been military studies on this stuff.
You always think that the government has the thing before we get it. So
Right.
because there's so I don't know, man.
Well, they've even said that even before the virus was even released, there's
Hmm.
already people that had patents and such on these vaccines and such.
Hmm.
So, like, if the COVID-19 virus came out on X date, then why is it that this other issue, like the vaccine, why is this coming out beforehand? They knew
Hmm.
something was going to happen.
Yeah.
Somebody knew something somewhere.
Yeah. Well, of course they did. So it's this kind of stuff doesn't just pop up. It's been around for a while.
Right.
So, and it just really depends on who you ask. So, because and the problem with studies and all that kind of stuff is usually like they did this study on sugar, and like in the 50s or whatever it was, about how sugar was great for you and butter was bad, when it was the exact opposite. The sugar
Right.
industry paid these scientists, and I use that in quotes, to tell people that sugar was good and butter was bad.
And I
So
tell you, if there's
yeah,
anything telling you that lobbying is a bad thing and needs to be outlawed, this right here is the main thing.
yeah, for sure. Oh, I think that's pretty much going to wrap this episode up. I mean, there's obviously, hit us up, let us know what you think, and we obviously want to open a dialogue with our fans and have a conversation. So feel free to message us on Facebook or whatever.
If you think we're wrong, let us know. If you think we're right, let us know. Tell us your story.
Well, in the meantime, follow the questions.
Find the truth.